yeah, don't get coaches to pick their own team. That's a good idea. Like making fun of me because I said the third party. And then another bunch of people were like, if there wasn't volunteers, minor hockey wouldn't run. It's like, or parent coaches. And it's like, okay, we're not talking about like 8 years old. Like,
Yeah.
who cares?
All right. Welcome back to another episode of the Crease Performance Podcast. How was your Christmas, Wops?
Wow. This was the first Christmas that I didn't go to Mexico. Usually try to break up the hockey season and get away, so.
Not a big deal.
Jesus. I know this is the first time in 4 years that we stayed home, and it was all right. I think the older you get, the less exciting Christmas is, I guess, until you have kids. Which you have one in the oven right now. Not a big deal.
Yes, sir.
Little girl. Oh. That's
maybe. Guess the internet knows.
But yeah, no, it was good.
Right on. All right. Well, today we are here to talk about another doozy. We're following this podcast up. Every episode seems to just keep getting better.
Just to stir the people up, you know?
Yeah,
especially
absolutely.
the social cuts that we put just a little piece out, not the whole pie. So parents get worked up and start freaking out and just listen to the whole episode.
Yeah.
We do it on purpose.
Yeah, but they don't know that.
No, and even let's jump into the minor hockey politics quick.
Sure.
So many people are freaking out and they're like, yeah, don't get coaches to pick their own team. That's a good idea. Like making fun of me because I said the third party. And then another bunch of people were like, if there wasn't volunteers, minor hockey wouldn't run. It's like, or parent coaches. And it's like, okay, we're not talking about like 8 years old. Like,
Yeah.
who cares?
Yeah.
We're talking about like U13 AA and higher. Like once you start to get into there, like the young kids, it is what it is. Who cares? But once we get to like U13 and like the highest level in U13, like there needs to be some common ground.
Yeah.
And that's all we were trying to get at, but whatever.
Ever since we created our friend Timmy here, you seem to be getting into more acting. Like you're just creating personas as we go. I love it.
Yeah, Timmy's a good guy. I don't know where Timmy is exactly right now, but I feel like he's coming for a skate later today.
I love it. All right. Well, today we're talking about scouting, specifically scouting goaltenders. So I guess my first question for you, since you're now coaching and been coaching for 5+ years, what are some of the major differences that you see between scouting and coaching?
It's completely different because now that I do scout for the Pats, right? I in this past draft, like I was heavily involved in the goaltender list and everything like that. So now that I'm in that process, it's like kind of eye-opening. It's way different. Because coaching, you're just trying to make the goalie better, right? That's your main focus. Scouting, you're looking for attributes, but you're also like projecting, like being good that second. Well, especially, okay, we'll talk about scouting at like the bantam level, U15 level,
Sure.
Like for the Western Hockey League draft, when our draft is like, when you're watching kids at that level, like being good right there is important, but it's also like, well, is that kid good just because he's more mature than his peers at
Right.
that moment, right? So it's like, there's so many variables in coaching. All you're doing is just trying to progress the kid, right? And yeah, it's a totally different world. I love scouting. I might like scouting more than coaching, like, to be honest.
Wow, that's a statement.
Well, because I don't have to talk to anybody.
Yeah, fair enough.
No, but yeah, it's a whole other realm of its own, and until you're actually in it, you don't really quite understand how many layers there is to it, right? So,
All right. So first off, when you're scouting, then what are some of the things that you're looking for in goalies from an on-ice standpoint?
strictly on ice. foot speed, skating ability. Yes, you can improve that, but if you have heavy boots, it's going to be tough to play at the next level. So like being light on your feet, anticipation. Like if you have a high hockey IQ, because I even feel like if you're more physically mature than your peers at that second year U15 year, like you can get away with like your hockey IQ not being as high because of like maybe size and like and everything like that. So and which at the next level, like especially our level, like even mid AAA is a completely different game than the Western Hockey League. If you can't anticipate plays and everything, like it's gonna be hard, very hard. So on the ice, like we're watching, like when I talk about anticipation, I mean, let's use a power play for example for people like dumb it down here. For if you're on the PK and they're running their power play with a bumper guy, meaning a guy in the high slot, and the puck is on the half wall at the top of the circle and the players are completely on the wall. Like, how is your depth on that player on the half wall that has the puck? If you're in the white ice, that shows me that your hockey IQ is very low, because that pass to the middle, like if that's such a long way to get there, even though the player's just in the middle of the ice, so that would show me your anticipation, like you're anticipating that play happening, so you're not out quite as far, like little things like that. It's like zone entry or anything, the players like just coming over the blue line slow, and then there's a player driving deep backdoor fast or whatever, and like just to see your anticipation, like are you getting totally stuck out, are you playing out on the white ice, or are you retracting your feet just a little bit, like anticipating that pass happening? So those things are very important. Like I said, foot speed, that's a big one. And then like the big thing for me is just like for on ice is like how do you play in big games? You know, like say you're on a really good team, because there are kids that are on really good teams, so their numbers reflect that. They are like, oh, you're on a good team, but like how do you play in big games? Because there's a lot of goalies that have good stats and everything, and then are just completely average in games that really, really matter. And that's a skill in itself. So those would be the big ones for me.
So playing under pressure, related to one's mental strength, I would assume.
Yeah, like being a goalie, it's way different mentally than a player, right? So yeah, it's easy to be good when it's easy.
Right.
Right? Like, okay, we get in playoffs. You get into these big tournaments. You get into your Sask first or stuff like that. Like, how are you then? Are you unreal then too, or just against the bottom half teams in your league so your numbers are good? Like, those things really matter. Even for like players. Like, say there's a player that, I know I've had this conversation with Pat's coaching staff, but say there's a player that gets 50 points in a season. Looks pretty good, right? Well, then you go game by game and you see that player absolutely shells bottom feeder teams.
Right.
Right? Like, and then maybe gets 1 point max against like really good teams, if that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But the numbers, you're like, oh, that's good. But then you look through it, like those players don't make the next level.
Interesting.
So when it comes to the scouting side of things, like these are
the details.
Yeah, there's, like I said, there's so many layers to it. It's not even funny.
What would be some of the things that I guess matter to you as a scout that the goalies and the parents listening might not think of being important?
Well, the one thing, like I said, about playing in big games, like your personality, you fit in well in the dressing room. How are your practice habits? how are you at school? How do you treat other people? Like the likable thing in the dressing room is a big one.
Yeah.
My buddy's a scout for the Buffalo Sabres, and he told me when they're interested in I've told you this before, but when they're interested in a goalie, they go watch him when he's not playing.
Right.
To see, like, is he taking it seriously, or, you know what I mean? Is he preparing like he's playing? Because at that level, like, probably going to be a backup.
Yeah.
Right? So, there's just, like, those are the big ones, like, especially the playing in big games, right? Like, it's easy to, like I said, it's easy to be good in just mediocre games and stuff like that, but even just like back-to-back games, like how are you the next day if you play 2 days in a row? But the big things are like finding out what kind of kid they are off the ice. What are the parents like?
Yeah.
Are they good to deal with? Are they crazy hockey parents? Like, you don't want to be adding that to your organization. Like, you talk to like their trainers back home, their like specialized skill coaches. Like, you ask them, like, how's their work ethic? How, like, there's just so many things. It's not just like how your play is. And then when you're scouting, right? It's different from coaching and scouting, but scouting is like I said, it's a projection. So you see a goalie, oh, okay, they're good. Yep. Well, what's their size? Because it does matter. Well, how big are their parents? What's the family history in athletics?
Yeah.
Like, these are all the questions that get talked about at the draft table and scouting meetings. Like, yeah, how big are the parents? Exactly, how big are the parents? What's the size like on the family? Because you're projecting, right?
Yeah.
So little things like that, like there's, like, what sizes are their feet?
Really?
Well, if you got big skates, then you're sick. But if you, like, I remember there was this one kid in the last draft class. He was only like 5'10".
Yeah.
But he's had size like 13 shoes. So, like, you got to think that he's going to end up bigger than 5'10".
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's another kid that got drafted who he's like 5'10", which is 5'10", 5'11". Grandpa's 6'10".
Holy.
Yeah, so it's like, you know, like the genetics, because it's a projection, right?
For sure.
Like you, like I said, is that kid good because he just like hit puberty before his peers?
Right.
Like, oh, he's already got like facial hair and like,
Yeah.
well, then it's a man against boys. Like, you stay away from that, right? Like, unless it's like unless he's like 6'3".
Yeah.
And he's gonna
Just a
continue.
freak.
But it's like, it's so hard to know, because it's like, yes, the attributes have to be there.
Yep.
Like, you're not gonna just take a goalie that's not good because parents and grandparents are 6'8".
Yeah.
Like, all the attributes have to be there. So, but maybe the numbers are like, they're decent, but then like plays pretty good in big games, but good feet, hockey IQ's there, or maybe feet just they're decent, hockey IQ's high, and they have the size, like, you know what I mean? Like, there's just, every kid's different, and you have to like break them down to, like, it's like an onion.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're just peeling layers of, and there's like all these questions and things that you have to go through, because you only get so many draft picks too, right? Like, especially even if I have an opinion, like, I got to be freaking sure.
Yeah.
Right? Or like, that's on me. Like, right? You only get so many draft picks, so you got to be, I mean, you're not going to be right 100% of the times in a bantam draft. You're just not.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I learned even from this past year is like, well, I learned so much from it that now even going into this year, I'm going to be way better from that. And that it's just experience, right?
Yeah.
And this was my first draft that I was in, the past one. So in 5 years from now, I'll be a lot smarter too, because I'll get to see where the draft class I just went through is at.
Yeah.
And I'll be able to look at like all those kids and what I thought at that time to where they ended up. But I don't have that information yet because I haven't been through many drafts. So it is a process, and it's experience and learning. But you got to make sure, first off, that the kid is a good kid and works hard. Because without those two things.
Yeah.
Like.
So you touched on, obviously, the importance of genetics and looking at the parents. Those are out of kids' controls.
Yep.
What would be some things away from the rink that are within the kids' control that you would look out as a scout? And what kind of advice could you give to the people listening?
Yeah, like I just said, work ethic and personality. How are you? Are you a good teammate? You work hard? Well, you check those two boxes. Well, that's a foot in the door right away.
Yeah.
Right? Then obviously, like I said, go ahead.
How do you find out, for young kids, that are they a good teammate? Are they good at school? What is a process for the scout to actually find reliable information?
Well, you talk to their coaches.
Okay.
Like their head coaches, their goalie coaches, you talk to them. They're not going to lie.
Yeah.
Because that's their own reputation, right? Like no one's going to lie for a kid just because it's on their team. That'll tarnish their reputation in hockey, and reputation's really important, right? So I guess kids can hear that, like, your coaches are not going to lie for you. Regardless of your relationship, they're not going to lie. They're going to be honest because it affects them too, right?
Yeah.
If a coach goes, oh, yeah, great kid, works hard, and then brutal work ethic, crappy teammate, that guy's going to be done in hockey in a second, and everybody will know about it.
Yeah.
Because, word travels fast in the hockey world, right? So, even there's things to like meeting or talking to like their teachers, talking like at the NHL level, they'll talk to high school teachers, they'll talk to people that like their trainers, they'll talk to everybody that knows them. Bigger risk there than in the
for sure
money and
Yeah.
But that's how in detail it is. So it's like, yeah, you think that you can come to the rink and be a good guy, but you're a piece of work at school to people, and like that'll people find out. So it's like, treat all areas of your life the same, and like pretend that you're getting evaluated every day, like when you step out of your house, right? Like in the eye of the public, like you're always under a microscope nowadays, especially with the social media and stuff. Like everything's on camera. Everybody, like it's crazy how fast you can find out about something.
Mm-hmm.
Because someone catches wind of something. Like every scout and general manager and everything, and even though we'll talk about the Western Hockey, like they know each other. And like word travels fast. Like something happens, GM will call another GM. What's wrong with the kid?
Yeah.
And they're gonna tell you
exactly
what, again, they don't lie either because it's their reputation. And so, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask you, like when we grew up playing hockey, when we grew up playing hockey, scouting probably looked a lot different because now a lot of these minor hockey rinks have, they have the live barn, they have the video footage. What does it look like from a scouting process for you? And like how frequent are scouts in the stands? What does that look like for
scouts? Are in the stands all the time.
Yeah.
It's a different world in person than it is over the camera.
For sure.
I do a lot of my homework on Insta.
Yeah.
So for anybody that doesn't know, Instat is a scouting software that I can look up any kid from U15 and older, like at the highest levels, and I can watch as detailed as like just saves from that game, goals against, like anything. So you like it'll show even in stat like where the goalie gets scored on the most, like from what area, like everything. So it breaks things absolutely down. So it's a great tool. I do a lot of my stuff on Instat because I feel like I can get a pretty good read, but then I still need to see it in person though to like confirm what I know. I'm a busy person and my job, like that's just an added bonus that I do.
Yeah.
If my job was just to be a scout and I got paid to be a scout, I'd be in the rink every day.
Right. Yeah.
So it's a different, but for like, I know our scouts, like they're in the rinks every day.
Yeah.
And they're all older. They don't like watching Instat.
Yeah.
Like
they're more traditional. Yeah.
But it's different, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I know talking to my buddies, Matt Zabot, like and he agrees with me because he said something that resonated with me. He's like, I've watched Instat on a kid and been like, oh, okay, like I like this kid. And then saw them in person and was like, I did not notice that.
Yeah.
Because it's different. Like I found for me, even the kid we drafted last year, watched him, thought I knew everything, and then got on the ice with him for a session. And I was like, whoa, I didn't notice that. Like to that extent, because now it's 3 feet in front of my eyes. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
It wasn't like a terrible, like it was a quick fix. But it's just like, yeah, they're there.
Yeah. So I guess it's important for goalies to
and sorry to cut you off, but the NHL level, Western League's different, but NHL, they watch practices.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They video practices. They like it's a full different ball game. Western League, some of our scouts they go to practices. But not like the NHL. Again, there's more at stake, right?
For sure. Yeah. And really what you said just reaffirms what I was going to say, where goalies need to leave the house every day like they're under the microscope.
Absolutely.
Like you said, because you never know when that scout's there. It could be a practice. It could be a game.
You might not even know they're there.
Yeah. Probably most times you don't.
At games, they'll wear their jackets and stuff.
Yeah.
But I know for a fact, like, I've seen a lot of NHL scouts at the Brand Center not wearing team stuff.
Probably on purpose, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, so it's the same thing. Like they might even have a kid that's on after you. So they're there as a hockey dad.
Yeah.
But they're like,
yeah.
Like you literally have no idea. And not only that, like I think of my network and everything, a lot of people.
Yeah.
It might not even be a scout there, but the scout might know somebody that's there.
And he trusts.
And they just get into conversation one day, and then the kid comes up and he's like, "Oh, I saw him at practice and he was brutal." Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And if they trust, like, it's, you just never know. I wish I would have taken that more seriously back in the day.
What do you mean?
I don't know, just
being on your
to have that
game.
mindset. Yeah. But I mean, I was told that a ton.
For sure.
You never know who's watching.
Yeah.
Because you don't.
For sure.
Especially even the live barn thing now.
Yeah.
Like you can tap into a practice, which is scary. Like,
comes with its own element of creepiness, but
yeah, especially the cancel culture type of things. Like,
yeah.
But I'm glad our rink here doesn't have live barn.
Not yet.
No chance.
All right. Well, there was some gems in there for goalies and parents. Now it's time for the questions from our community. If you're new, this is your first podcast, we ask our private community questions every week, and then we answer them, or we get Coach Wops. I don't actually answer any of them to answer them on our weekly podcast. So the first question is, this is a good one. What made you become a goalie coach?
Holy lick. That could probably be its own episode.
Probably should be, but
yeah,
maybe just...
I think it's going to be now.
There we go. Look at that.
And we'll make it short. Dedicated my whole life to playing hockey. Didn't take anything else seriously, school, anything, because my life was hockey. Planned on playing professional hockey. Like that was basically the only option. And then when I got injured as a 20-year-old and tore both my hips, life kind of took a little bit of a nosedive 360 and ended up finding out that my playing career was going to be cut short because of my injury so then I got offered a coaching job right out of university. So I left university, left university early to coach, and I've loved it ever since. You know, I like it better than playing. Way less stress, no game day anxiousness, and I've loved the game my whole life ever since I was 2. I was fascinated by goalies in general, and yeah, I couldn't imagine doing anything else.
This is complete tangent, but like little Wops, he's 5 years old. Who was the goalie that you looked up to?
Ooh.
It could have been multiple, but
I think when I was young, I think I was a Big Broder guy.
yeah.
Just trying to think, and Patrick Wall a little bit. Trying to think of all the posters I had in my bedroom and my playroom in the basement. Had a bunch. But yeah, I think those were the guys that stuck out. And then like as I got older, like I loved Carey Price too. Just his demeanor and everything, and now I'm a big Vasi and Saros guy.
There we go. Love it. All right. So the next question. What is the difference between the Goaltender Fundamentals and the Elite Edgework programs?
Holy crap. So the Goaltender Fundamentals is your entry-level program, going over all of the basic skills and exactly how to do them, and then providing you drills on for doing those things and working on those skills at practice. The reason we built that program is because without your foundation being strong, it's very hard to progress. Like, say for me, it's hard for me to progress a goalie if their foundation's not built properly. Because then I'm constantly having to work on that instead of taking the strides, right? I'd rather coach a kid that I don't have to talk about like stupid little foundational things, and then I can really push them and push speed and push everything. But if you're constantly reminding them about the basic things, then it's really hard to progress. So getting that down is so important. And the one also thing is, I think there's a lot of kids that think they have a good foundation, but it needs work. So yeah, I think it's also good. It's been good for beer league goalies too, which is kind of funny. But the Elite Edgework program.
I want to cut you off. Actually, one other thing that it's been good for, from what I've seen too inside our community, is the older goalies who are picking up the sport for the first time, and
or picking it up again 20 years later.
Correct.
And the game's changed so much.
Yeah. I've just been like kind of shocked as to how many people kind of fall into that category, which is awesome. You know, it's just kind of cool to see that, like,
you'd fall into that category if you put the pads on, which is going to happen.
Yeah, I'm still waiting. But anyways, I'll let you kind of pick back up with the Elite Edgework program.
So the Elite Edgework, so honestly, my best attribute as a coach, I can work on everything, but is my skating techniques. I feel like I've not perfected it, but I'm getting there. Like, I've put so much time and effort into skating and learning about it and watching, and I've had so much progress with so many goalies in their skating. It's not even funny. And that's not like bragging. Like, it's just the truth. Like, it's been cool to watch. And so that program is everything that I've learned about skating and blades and how to have elite feet, good edges. So for anybody that has their foundation, that would be a great play next, because then you can, like I said when we were talking earlier in the podcast about the number one thing we look for is footwork and skating.
Yeah.
The game is so fast now. I actually heard Joey Decord on a podcast the other day. And he just said, like, the number one thing, he's a Seattle Kraken goalie, if you didn't know that. But he said you have to be an unbelievable skater because the game's so fast.
Mm-hmm.
So, and, like, you want to try to be able to beat plays on your feet, right? As many as you can until there's, like, backdoor and they get close enough. But so if you can become an elite skater, it can make up for other deficiencies too. But that's like your base. Like, you get your foundation and then you work on becoming an elite skater, and you can be 8, you can be 20, doesn't matter. I do these drills with 8, 9-year-olds that have good foundations, and also my WHL goalies. So once you're skating something you should work on for the rest of your life, regardless of if you're in the NHL or where you're playing. You should always be working on your footwork because the game becomes easier after that. But once you become a good skater, then you can, like, really dial in details and stuff like that, right? But with younger goalies especially, like, I'd rather them get their foundation and then make them crazy athletic skater and everything before we start getting too detailed, because those things are, like, a must if you want to be good, and if you want to be good when you're older. Yeah. Right? Maybe there's a kid that's 9 or 10, good goalie, because he's a monster, or he or she's a monster. Like, they're just bigger than their peers. So many pucks just hit them. But they're slow. Yeah. Such slow feet. But they're, like, one of the best goalies in their age. Right? That happens all the time. But when they get older, they're not going to be better than their peers. Right. Because they're slow. Yeah. Right? So, there you go.
Right on. Well, for anyone who's listening, we can attach some information about both of those programs if you're not sure about either of them. So in the caption down below, you can find information on both of those. But other than that, that wraps up today's episode. If you guys enjoyed this, it would mean a lot to us if you left us a review, whether you're listening on Spotify or Apple.
A couple reviews for the boys.
Yeah, or even share it to your goalie partner or another goalie you know. Yeah. It's we're trying to put out free education on the position, and sharing it with somebody is the best way to give back to us. So we'll see you guys in the next episode.